Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Thursday. You know what that means? That means we'll have our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, in just 1 second on the Titan & More hotline. And then one second portion, we'll have the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup, talk a little all-area football team. Also, we're right in the basketball's winding down in high school where the district playoffs and things of that nature. If you missed it last night, Gator basketball keeps winning, beats the Georgia Bulldogs. Tonight, Lady Gators play in Starkville against Mississippi State. We'll see if Kelly Ray Finley and her girls can keep it going. But let's go to the Titan & More hotline. We're going to be joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to be on with you, Shane. By the way, kudos to Florida. They've won 4 straight, 7-2 over the last 9 games. So that you got to get hot late, and that's kind of what Florida is doing. Tennessee's doing the same thing. They've won 6 straight games at this point. Huge win for Arkansas over Auburn. Auburn and Alabama play in Tuscaloosa on Saturday in a big game, and Tennessee and Kentucky play next Tuesday. So no doubt hoops is getting hot, but as we always like to do, there's no shortage of things going on in the wonderful world of college football.
Yeah, that is so true. And as you mentioned, Gators have won the games they're supposed to have won lately, but now in the next couple of weeks, we get the Auburn Tigers again, and we got to play Kentucky twice. So we shall see what happens. Brent, gosh, you know, I know a lot of Gator fans are getting excited for spring football rolling around in April. But a couple schools already got the pads on and practicing a little bit of football. Yeah,
that's amazing, isn't it? Appalachian State and Coastal Carolina began spring practice a couple of days ago. So some schools, coaches like to get started quickly and be done the same. I mean, goodness, if you're doing if you've got a February 8th start, Shane, I would think you're probably having your spring game, mid-March, end of March, something like that. So for some, I guess it's for in case you get someone hurt, you can get them healed a little quicker. But I know schools have all these indoor facilities and so forth, but for Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State, especially Appalachian State, there may still be snow on the ground right there.
Yeah, I would assume they're probably indoors, I guess. I don't really know. We got a text on the Titan & More text line from Jim. Jim says, great get by Billy Napier and his staff last night with the Boardingham kid out of California, supposed to be a Kyle Pitts type player. So Arliss Boardingham is his name. He's a tight end / receiver. So that will definitely boost the recruiting ranks, I'm sure. Brent, as you mentioned, some people have started spring ball, but the SEC coaches the head coaches are meeting today in Birmingham. What are they going up there just to hang out? What do they talk about? You got any idea?
I think they've got a regularly scheduled meeting for this time of year. I mean, we're not that far away from them meeting in Destin in the spring. So I would imagine there are probably a bunch of subjects that they will be dealing with at that point. I mean, if they're in Birmingham, that means they're going to probably be either at the SEC office or somewhere nearby. And I'm sure they've got an agenda about, and it may just be some regular yearly stuff that they meet about that may not mean a whole lot to the average fan, but they are meeting at this point. And by the way, one of the guys meeting with them, yes, is Auburn coach Brian Harsin.
Do you think Jimbo's going to be sitting next to Lane and Coach Saban after his little rant? You know, I got to think at this meeting they have to be talking about the NIL stuff and the portal, because, you know, it's interesting. The last few days, I've been in different locations. And I've seen a bunch of former players, Gator players, play for other schools. And I don't know if it's just because we're old school and old, but none of us like this NIL. We have no problem with kids getting, you know, free meals, you know, doing some signings, getting paid for appearances. But this nonsense of the bidding war and we need this amount of money for this to pay this player is absolutely ridiculous in my mind. And nobody can compare it to the National Football League, Brent, because it's not. The NFL, right. You pretty much know when you go to the NFL what you're going to be making roughly. But you've also produced. You've actually done something to get the opportunity to play professional football. There's so many kids that are going to be getting this money that may never play a snap. They may never pan out. They can transfer and take the money with them. It's crazy.
It is, and they will be dealing with some of it again. And look, I don't want to go real deep down this rabbit hole, but if people have not heard, on Tuesday, the National College Players Association filed unfair labor practices charges with the National Labor Relations Board against the NCAA, the Pac-12, USC, and UCLA. The goal is to affirm employee status for Division I basketball players and Division I football players. Now, we don't know how far this will go. There's a lot of talk about that eventually the players will be employees of the school or some situation thereof. And look, I'm not going to pretend at this point that we know anywhere near where this is going to be going. We think we know at some point, but I don't want to play lawyer with all of this. I'm just mentioning it because, to go with what Shane just said, this is the next step going down the road. And I'm curious if you heard that, talking to some of the former players, that at some point that the players would be employees, and there's so many tentacles and layers of that we could spend a couple hours on it, but that's the next thing that is going to be talked about, and that's coming if people missed that this week.
Yeah, David asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, do you have problems with ticket prices, lack of access for tickets to students, and cost to students? I'm not sure what he's asking. I can tell you right now, at Florida, the students don't show up. So I don't know why the students don't really need tickets, in my opinion, because half of them don't come to the games if they do have them. But I've just talked to so many former players that have played, didn't play college ball, that have businesses, and they don't understand. I mean, it has gotten out of hand very quickly. I don't know. They have to police it somehow, and they got to do it quickly, because I don't agree with players getting a lot of money when you never know if they're going to pan out or not. And they may never play, and then they can transfer and take the money with them. That's why, in my opinion, you can't compare it to being a professional athlete and getting an opportunity to play in the NFL, because you sign a contract in the NFL and you get cut. You do not get that money unless it was a signing bonus. I don't think people realize that. I mean, I could sign with the Jaguars today for $10 million, but they don't have to pay me that $10 million. So it's crazy. Real quick, Alan asked, what happens when these kids get involved with the wrong type of people, company, mafia, or other type of non-legit business deals? I don't know. I think they have people that help them through the process, but it's crazy. I don't know. I got off the tangent there, Brent. Sorry about that. But we got a couple of football schedule changes in college football.
Yeah, and this is always interesting. They are moving a couple of games from Saturday to Friday on Labor Day weekend. Now, again, we have to remember we will again have week 0, and then we will have the Labor Day weekend. Western Michigan at Michigan State has moved up a day to Friday, and then Nebraska at Rutgers has been moved up one day to Friday. No, I'm sorry. That's actually one day to Friday on October the 7th. So that's a little bit later on. Have you noticed that the Friday schedule is becoming more attractive, frankly, in college football? Now, let me mention something, and I may miss this as far as who it went to, but I saw a tweet this week that Thursday night NFL, and it may be starting this year, is going to be moving anything they do. I think is going to be moving to. It was a streaming source. It may have been Amazon. I don't remember. And that, but that's not the point I want to get to. The point I want to get to is, okay, if the NFL Thursday night games are moving to a streaming situation, what's been brought up by college football people is, well, college football needs to have more of a presence on Thursday night like they used to. And this will be a really good opportunity to do that. What I have said for years is college football needs to quit being afraid of the NFL on Thursday night. Go ahead and put as many games on there as you want to, because frankly, Shane, a lot of those Thursday night NFL games are dog games anyway. So instead of surrendering that night, maybe this might give college football a little shot in the arm to schedule better on Thursday night.
Yeah, there's no question. I want to read a couple Facebook Lives here. It is Amazon, but David says the students not coming out to games is a problem. It shows that there's an issue, an access issue. No, that's not it, David. It's an admissions issue. Kids that want to go watch the Gators play don't go to school here. They're in Tallahassee, they're in Orlando, and they're in Tampa.
Good point.
That's for a whole nother show. Don't get me started on that one. When people like Ben Hill Griffin's great granddaughter can't get into school, something's wrong. But yeah, they're mostly from out of state or out of the country. But that's way above my pay grade. Brent, this is very interesting to me. Stat you sent to me, the 9-game drought for Power 5 teams with the longest drought of not winning 9 regular season games. The first team on there seems like they get love every year recently before the season kicks off. And it's hard to believe they haven't won 9 games.
Yeah, and that's Iowa State. Now, the other interesting thing on here in the stats that Shane and I are sharing is, and as you can imagine, we've also got a record here. This is one of the first times I've seen this, is the most, we talk about the teams with the most win all time. Well, the teams with the most losses all time, and Iowa State is among that group too. So even though they haven't won double-digit games at Iowa State, I still give Matt Campbell a lot of credit for what he has done there to attract as much attention to Iowa State as he has.
Yeah, there's no question. There's also, you sent me a stat of the 10-win seasons, the last time each SEC team had consecutive 10-win seasons. That was kind of interesting as well.
Well, and I think for some of these, it tells you kind of the current state where they are, such as Auburn has not had consecutive 10-win seasons since 88 and 89. Kentucky has never done it. Mississippi State has never done it. Vanderbilt has never done it. A&M, with all their bravado, have not done it since 93 and 94. Tennessee, 2003 and 2004. Shane, look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has not had consecutive 10-win seasons since 59 and 60.
Johnny Vault days.
Yeah, I think with Lane, that's right. I think with Lane Kiffin, that's about to change.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lane's done a good job. I think I don't know what's going on up there. He brought in some good players, lost a lot of good coaches. So we'll see. Brent, I know we'll get to Auburn here in a minute, but Derek Mason leaves Auburn as the defense coordinator, goes to Oklahoma State, takes a pay cut. So that probably tells you how bad the culture is at Auburn, right?
He was making $1.5 million at Auburn, and now at Oklahoma State he's making $1.1 million. Now, I don't think you need to feel sorry for Derek and money. He'll be able to go to the grocery store and get a tank of gas, but that does tell you something about how badly he wanted to get out of Auburn.
Yeah, and we talked about Arch Manning quite a bit on our program. I've always listed 4 or 5 schools. He's narrowed it down to 4, which I technically think it's only 3. I think one of them just added in there just to keep the Rebel Nation from egging Archie's house. So tell us what you're hearing about Arch.
Well, and let me mention this too. And again, as Shane said, the short list is reportedly Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Now, LSU, Florida, and Ohio State have also expressed interest. I mean, everybody expressed interest in Arch. Now, again, Arch is obviously named for his grandfather, Archie Manning. Now, let me throw this in here, too. David Cutcliffe, who just left Duke as head coach, is very close to the Mannings for various reasons. So what has Texas done? There's a possibility that Texas is going to hire David Cutcliffe. How about this, Shane? In an off-field capacity. So, frankly, for Steve Sarkisian, that's a pretty shrewd move, to be honest with you, if Cutcliffe wants to do this and just to kind of, not a head coach, but in an analyst. And again, connect the dots here. The Manning family and Cutcliffe are very on board with each other. They've been friends for years. He's been a mentor to all these guys. So just kind of watch that in case Texas hires him. Would that make a big difference? Yeah,
I mean, it could. I still think he's going to end up at Alabama, so we'll see. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Melvin Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And Jim says he knows what he's talking about as well. Says, great conversation. The face of college athletics is changing daily. The breakaway from the NCAA is coming in college football. Yeah, it is. And they got to get it regulated quickly. I think it is absolutely out of control and ridiculous what's going on. John says, should Florida focus on Arch Manning or look at someone else? Look, Billy Napier has a relationship with Archie and the Manning family being in Louisiana. Just him, visiting there at Newman High School in New Orleans is good for the program. There is no way Arch Manning is coming to play here. No way. No, they're not focusing on him.
I agree with that.
They're not focusing on him.
And again, I'll be very brief with this. Trust Billy Napier for your quarterbacks because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Wrap Spot's expanding, folks. Check out their second location at 1931 North Main Street. Wrap Spot's teamed up with a crew at Vibrant Vinyl Works to offer color change wraps, advertising wraps, custom striping, hood wraps, and wall wraps. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan MR hotline, we'll have Mike Ridaught from the PrepZone.com and Main Street Daily News doing our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup, second portion of today's program. All right, Brent, let's jump into the SEC. There was some bad news coming out of Tuscaloosa. What are you hearing there with Pete Golding?
Yeah, Pete Golding was arrested and charged with a DUI. He was in jail overnight. He's out. Really nothing else said about that. He won't lose his job. He'll go through, and Shane, I'm sure you're aware of this, every school has some kind of a protocol for their employees who are arrested and dealt with that. So that's what they'll do, and really nothing else has come out because of that. Alabama added Joe Cox recently on their staff. Joe was the former quarterback at Georgia and has been around a few different places. So they've got him and T-Rob, Travarius Robinson, Coleman Hutzler, and Eric Wofford. Besides Joe Cox, Wofford was their latest addition for the offensive line coach. And by the way, we've already got Heisman Trophy odds, and as you can imagine, Bryce Young is selected to repeat. C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, and Shane and I will get into more Heisman over the next few months.
Well, those three you just mentioned right there, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, and Bryce Young.
Yes.
Boy, those three dudes can flat out throw the football. I mean,
can't they?
They
Absolutely.
are elite throwers. So
Yeah.
I'm sure Bryce Young is the favorite. I would, yeah, and then, boy, right behind him, you got Caleb and C.J. Stroud. So it'll be interesting. Let's see what those do. Down on the plains, it's a mess. Brent, is there any way Brian Harsin survives this?
Yeah, that there actually is. What they're trying to do is by the way, Harsin was on vacation. He's come back.
Where did he go? Do you know where he went, Brent? Did he leave the country?
I think he went to Mexico or somewhere like that. But look, here's the bottom line for this: is Auburn is either going to have to pay him $18.3 million if they get rid of him and they find cause, or if they don't find cause, he will be their coach. So that's kind of the bottom line. What you've also got to realize here is they just are at the end of paying Gus Malzahn for getting rid of him. So I don't think there's any way he takes a reduced buyout. Now, look, there's internet rumors that I won't get into. Look, that's window dressing. I'm going to say this real quick so we can get on with other teams. The Auburn has the power brokers at Auburn. A lot of people know there's a lot of infighting at Auburn. Auburn has always been their worst enemy within their own structure. They don't have a lot of leadership in the president, AD, who's a lame duck. They've got a new president coming in the middle of May. So it's a convoluted mess, frankly. So they're either trying to negotiate something or they're trying to prove that Brian Harsin needs to be fired because of cause. And look, Brian Harsin had a lot of problems. They lost 5 games in a row. They've had 25 players or something of that who have transferred out. They've had coaches who've left. Derek Mason, we mentioned a few minutes ago, that have gone too. So hopefully something will be decided this week at Auburn, but they're kind of leaving Harsin twisting in the wind at this point. But again, the bottom line at Auburn is until someone sits down with these big money boosters who run this program and tell them that we're in charge, you're welcome to donate, buy tickets, cheer for the club, but we're running the show. And until that happens, this is going to be the pattern at Auburn every 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yep. And I was telling JC the other day when we were talking about this, if Tank Bigsby doesn't run out of bounds, Brian Harsin's probably, no matter what's going on, he's probably happy because the fans are happy because they beat Alabama.
Correct.
Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, why aren't these buyouts offset somewhat by contracts the coaches sign with their new teams? They are. So most of the time, buyouts happen over a period of time. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Brent. So if you go coach somewhere else, they deduct that from it. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, they've got some kind of a ratio that does that. Now, I remember when Gus Malzahn left Auburn, his buyout, they had to pay, it was a great majority of that buyout, maybe like at least half of it, if not 70% of it within 60 days. So, listen, right now, if guys want to go into sports, Shane, I'm being facetious, but yet I'm not. Instead of going into coaching, I'd become an agent right now. Would be if you want to make a good living.
Yeah, there's no question. We've got a text on the Titan More text line. It's basically a homework assignment for you, Brent, because I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but Ryan has this question for you. With all the ridiculous talent that you have seen come through the SEC over the years, I'm wondering who makes your list as the biggest disappointment given their college career. And on the flip side, what player surprised you and unexpectedly had great college careers? So you can think about that homework assignment. I don't want to put you on the spot. That's kind
a
of
great
difficult.
question.
All right, so we talked about Auburn. The Gators, as I announced, they had a pretty good signing class. They signed Arliss out of Boardingham, out of California last night. Tell us your news and notes on the Gators.
The spring roster has come out. They've got 4 super seniors on there. Ventrell Miller coming back to me is just humongous, along with Trey Dean. Amari Burney and Jordan Pouncey also mentioned with that. This is going to be a pretty good football team, frankly, coming back, particularly if they can get the quarterback situation straight, and I believe they will. Now, look, is Florida going to the national championship game in the first year? No. But I can tell you he is going to do amazing things with this roster and this football team over the next few months.
You know, I think I saw the spring roster. You know what jumped out to me is nobody had a number. Did you notice that, Brent?
Yeah. And look, knowing a little bit about what we do about Billy Napier, that's not a surprise. He is a team guy. He's a team guy is what he's looking at there.
Well, I love it because I absolutely think it is ridiculous how some of these kids come in. I understand it's part of recruiting, but certain players shouldn't be wearing certain numbers depending on their position. And and I think that may be changing. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting when they released the roster that not one person had a number. So we'll see what happens. The Kentucky Wildcats had a tremendous recruiting class. Stoops has done a great job. What's going on up in Lexington?
We mentioned the Wolford going their former offensive line coach in Alabama. They have agreed to hire former San Francisco 49ers assistant offensive line coach Zach Yenser. So 49ers have done rather well in the offensive line. So I think that's going to help them too. Shane, I also want to mention real quick, Georgia's G-Day game is April the 16th. Speaking of Auburn, they're trying to hire Auburn defensive back coach Zach Etheridge as a top candidate for their open defensive back coach position. Because Miami has hired Jamil Adai, who is a Florida native, to go to Miami. And then Georgia also made a new hire, and Shane, you can pronounce his name for me if you would, former TCU defensive line coach Chidera Uzo Deribe. And I may have butchered that, but I just wanted to get that note out there.
Well, you pronounce it a lot better than I can. Give me some nuggets because time goes by way too fast when you're on here, Brent.
Well, and I understand that. Kobe Fields, former South Carolina freshman, has signed with LSU. Mississippi State redshirt sophomore Jack Christfuck has entered the transfer portal. 6'4", 200. He was at Houston State. Missouri defense coordinator Steve Wilkes has interviewed for the Giants job. So we're, I think, kind of waiting to see where that's going to go. Don't have time to get into it too much, but again, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart is on that quarterback roster, and Zach Evans from TCU is at running back. That's pretty impressive. Former New York Giant and Cleveland Browns assistant Jody Wright is going to be the tight ends coach at South Carolina. Luke Doty, who Shane and I have talked about a lot, freshman quarterback, had a foot injury. He's supposed to be ready for spring practice. So I think that is also important. One thing I also want to mention, because it ties into the SEC, Miami has made a lot of hires under Mario Cristobal. Josh Gaddis is one of those, leaving Michigan and coming to Miami. There's a long story behind that one. Jamil Adai, we mentioned a minute ago, former Georgia secondary coach. Frank Ponce, Appalachian State offensive coordinator, has joined the staff. And everybody needs to remember this with the Auburn situation. Kevin Steele is now the new defensive coordinator at Miami. So the reason I bring that up is Kevin Steele's name has been mentioned for the Auburn job, but now he is at Miami, so that likely is not going to happen. I say likely because in modern college football, Shane, we don't know what's going to happen, do we?
We really don't. Brent, great stuff as always. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Who you got winning?
I like Joe Burrow to continue. I'm not saying it's destiny, but right now I wouldn't bet against him, Shane, frankly.
Yeah, he's a good one. There's no question about it. Appreciate it, Brent. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Look forward to hearing Mike in a few minutes. Take care.
Yeah, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. I'm going to take a timeout, come back, and switch over to high school sports with our man Mike Ridaught from the PrepZone.com and Main Street Daily News. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
This is Steve Spurrier, and you're invited to hang out with me at the biggest watch party of the year.
You heard the head ball coach. You're invited to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Sunday, February 13th for the biggest game of the year as Cincinnati takes on Los Angeles, and Spurrier's will be celebrating the game all day. The fun kicks off at 5:30 with the Coach Spurrier meet and greet, and football watch party begins. Then watch the big game at 6:40 p.m. But hurry, spots are limited. Make your reservations now at Spurriers.com. That's Spurriers.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron, Dave & Buster's, Medici's, Palmetto Moon, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Now serving brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. And don't forget, there may be a few spots still available, maybe sold out now. Coach Spurrier's meet and greet for the Super Bowl this Sunday. Give Spurriers a call and see if you can get in line to get a picture with the head ball coach. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by the man who does a tremendous job covering high school sports for the PrepZone.com and from Main Street Daily News, Mike Ridaught. Good morning, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Shane. Busy, but doing great. How are you today?
I'm great. Mike, I just got a Facebook Live here. I'm going to throw it out there. I know the answer to this already. John loves high school sports now. He goes, Mike, I was wondering if you completed the homework assignment on the urban versus the rural proposal from the FHSA. Not yet, right?
Kind of. Yes, kind of. Actually, I did look into it a little bit more. and I'm still need to digest it because I'm not sure. I know that basically what they want to do is they want to split the member schools into 4 metro and 5 suburban or rural classifications. And I know that the metro class would include, like your most densely populated areas like Jacksonville and Miami and Tampa, et cetera. And the reason that they are wanting to do this, and the proposal is going to go before the board of directors later this month. So it's not a done deal yet, but it's certainly possible that we could be moving in this direction. And basically, if you look at the state championships over the last, even the last like maybe decade or so, last 10 years, 32 state titles have featured metro versus suburban teams. Metro teams are 26-6. That's an 81.2% winning percentage during that time. So what they're trying to figure out a way to do is to level the playing field again, which is good. Some people don't like change. Some people it's tough to embrace change. I don't know if this is the way to go, but it does sound like they're trying to do something to avoid these lopsided games in the state championships. 6 of this year's state champions were from the metro areas. The lone state champions from the suburban areas were Madison County in 1A and Dennis in Class 8A. But Trinity Christian in Jacksonville, Chaminade Madonna, Cardinal Gibbons of Fort Lauderdale, Miami Central, Tampa Jesuit, St. Thomas Aquinas, all those schools came from metro areas. So they're trying to lump these metro area schools into the same classification or into a, they're splitting it up. I think it's over 4, like I said, 4 for the metro. And then I think, again, I'm still digesting it. I've got a feel for what they're trying to do based on the results in these state championship games and the fact that the metro areas have dominated. So I kind of did the homework assignment.
Oh, there. Great. I can solve that whole now. You just mentioned those state title winners. Yeah. Every one of them were private schools except Miami Central and Venice and Madison County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So I can solve the problem. Play who you want to play in the regular season, but when it comes postseason, you private boys go play your little tournament, and the public boys play their tournament like everybody else in America does. That would solve the problem.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yep. So at least they're trying to tweak it. Kudos to the FHSA for at least trying to change things. We'll find out later this month if the proposal goes through.
Yeah, well, it makes no sense. I get so fired up about it every time. All right, Mike.
Hopefully, I got at least a C. Hopefully, I got at least a C there, Shane.
Oh, you did an outstanding job. I'm glad that you even looked into it. I forgot about your homework assignment.
I made it up.
Main Street Daily News did their all area football team. Want to break it down for us?
Yes. So we have released. Now we made it a little bit tougher, and it's tougher because we only have a first team. So for small school and big school. So for a first team, we only have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers. So for quarterback, it wasn't a tough decision in the big school because Creed Whittemore of Buchholz, had an outstanding year, led Buchholz to the state semifinals, their first state semifinal appearance in 30 years. That, is an easy win. Quan Lee, who signed with UCF, first team wide receiver, that wasn't a difficult decision. He's the all-time leading receiver in Alachua County history based on yards. But then when you consider, the quarterback for the small school, for example, I know the Gainesville Sun recognized Amari Jones of Bradford as their overall offensive player of the year. Well, he's an honorable mention for us. We went with Tyler Jefferson, and with all things being equal, and it was close, and basically we got feedback, Shane, from all the coaches. We had all the coaches submit their nominations for their kids, and then we had a committee of 5 that sat down and really just kind of went over all the suggestions, looked at stats. Of the 5 of us that met, we've all seen a lot of these teams throughout the year. So we felt like we had a pretty good handle on this stuff. but it still came down to a decision like, okay, do we go with Amari Jones of Bradford? Do we go with Tyler Jefferson of Hawthorne? Those types of decisions were basically ultimately decided on, okay, well, Tyler Jefferson led Hawthorne all the way to the state championship game. Some people will say he may not be a great passer, but I've seen him several times this year, and he would run over people. At times, he was like a man-child out there. I think he scored 16 touchdowns on the ground this year. So, yes, so we have released our all-area teams, small school and big school. You can check it out at mainstreetdailynews.com. Tomorrow, we will be releasing our coaches of the year. Some good representation. Some other guys on the small school all-area team, Rayvon Durant of Union County, massive year for him. I think over 1,400 yards, and he missed a few games this year. Brian James of Hawthorne, running back. Perryon Sylvester, wide receiver from Newberry. Jaron Hamilton of PK Young, who had several Division I offers. So again, you can check this stuff out at mainstreetdailynews.com. But it was difficult in some areas. But what we tried to do, we didn't want to water it down. We didn't want to name a second team because then, you're always going to have somebody complain. Well, why didn't my kid make second team? Well, you do a second team or a third team. Why didn't my team make third team? That type of thing. So we really wanted to try to have the best of the best with our all-area teams.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending, right? Helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Mike Ridaught, does a tremendous job covering sports, high school sport. All right, girls playoffs have already started in basketball. Who's playing who? What games should we look out for? And what teams in the North Central Florida area have a chance?
Okay, so the girls basketball district tournaments were last week. The regional tournaments actually begin tonight. In Class 6A, Gainesville High School will be at home against St. Augustine. That is a tough matchup, Shane, and the reason is because St. Augustine went 20-0 during the regular season. Their only loss this year came to Ponte Vedra in the district championship game. They had won a game in the semifinals. They're 21-1, and Gainesville has to play them at home. Now, Gainesville beat Lake City Columbia at home to win the district championship last week. So that's a tough one there. St. Augustine's got a good chance, obviously, to perhaps win a Class 6A state title. Lake Weir of Ocala will be at home in 5A District 3 against Kissimmee Gateway. Keystone Heights, it'll be a tough matchup. They're an 8 seed. They'll play at Bishop Kenny and Jacksonville in 4A. Denellen's a 3 seed. They'll take on Andrew Jackson of Jacksonville in 4A Region 1. I would say probably the team with the best chance to make a little bit of a run might be the Trinity Catholic girls. They're in 3A. They are the 2 seed in 3A in their region. Episcopal is out of Jacksonville, the 7 seed. I think Trinity Catholic will get the win at home tonight in that one. Oak Hall will be on the road at Monroe. Meadowbrook of Ocala is in as well. But probably the interesting one to keep your eye on is 1A. Tonight, Trenton will play Hawthorne. Last year, these teams played in the state semifinals. Hawthorne's just a couple years removed from winning a state championship. Hawthorne's been to 3 straight Final Fours. Trenton just won their 7th straight district title, their 90th straight district game, and Brian Fry, their head coach, this is his last year coaching. So Trenton's at home tonight against Hawthorne in Class 1A, but the winner has to play Wildwood. I think Wildwood's got a chance to win the state championship. They're really good. So as far as answering your question in girls basketball, like I said, I think Trinity Catholic's got a chance to make a little bit of a run, but I don't know if that Trenton Hawthorne winner can get past Wildwood. Hawthorne just lost to Wildwood by 12 in the district championship game, so it'll be a little tough for them. So, we'll see what happens. That's why they play the games, but it's good to see a little representation from the Ocala and Gainesville area.
Yeah, Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mountain Law, any of these high school girls that you're covering might have a chance to play at UF?
I would say not in the area, not in the Gainesville, Ocala area, no.
Okay. All right. Now the district tournaments are going on right now, the last couple of nights in high school boys basketball. Give us an update on what's happening there.
Okay. Last night, probably the most exciting district was in 6A District 3. Both of those district semifinals went into overtime. Gainesville, and let's put this in perspective for GHS, they lost their guard, who was kind of a guy that did everything for them, lost to an ACL a couple of weeks ago. So, at that time, I thought, oh my goodness, well, I don't think Gainesville's got a chance. They might have a chance, but without Seth Childers, I don't know if they can make a little bit of a run. Well, they actually had played Ocala Forest twice this year, Shane, lost both times. Again, they're playing without Childers. He's done for the year. And they beat Forest in overtime last night, 61-59. Buchholz had, I believe it was an 18-point lead last night against Orange Park Fleming Island, which has been number one in the state in 6A for several weeks. They just recently had to forfeit 8 or 9 games. I think it might have been an ineligible player. I'm not sure what happened there. But they played against Buchholz, which, has had a decent year, but, been right around 500. Well, Buchholz had an 18-point lead in that game. They end up losing that lead. The game goes in overtime. Buchholz loses in overtime, 71-68. So Gainesville will play at Fleming Island on Friday night for the 6A District 3 title. Vanguard lost in 5A District 5 to Leesburg, so they're done. Santa Fe will play at North Marion in 4A District 4. Santa Fe beat Danella last night, 66-57. North Marion was winner against Palaca, 59-55. That'll be a pretty interesting matchup. That might be our radio broadcast on 106.9 coming up on Friday. We'll make that decision here in the next couple of hours. PK Young at Jacksonville Providence will be a great matchup again in 3A District 2. PK was a winner last night. They edged Bishop Snyder in Jacksonville 52-50. Also Trinity Catholic, that's another team that I think has a chance to make some noise in the postseason, Shane. The Trinity Catholic boys will play for the 3A District 3 title. They scored 88 points last night against Crooms Academy of Sanford. Also, Oak Hall was a winner last night against University Christian of Jacksonville. So they will play against St. Joseph out of St. Augustine for the 2A District 4 title. Here's where things get a little bit more interesting. I've been mentioning this 1A District 7. You've got in the semifinals, Newberry, which is ranked number 1 in the state in 1A, played number 11 team in the state, Bronson. Newberry won that game 56-44. They will play Trenton, which came back, I want to say they were down 18, 19 points in their semifinal game. They beat the host team, Williston, which is 5th in the state. Trenton is ranked 10th in the state. So again, you're talking about 1, 5, 10, and 11 teams in the state are all in the same district. Now, that does bode a little bit well for, this new playoff format and the ranking system, because it used to be the district champion and the district runner-up would get into the state playoffs. But because Bronson was so highly ranked, even though they lost in semifinals, they still have an outside chance of getting into the state playoffs. But with Williston, it's like the NCAA tournament. If somebody that's supposed to win loses, it kind of steals a bid from somebody else. We'll see if that hurts Bronson. But it will be Newberry and Trenton for the district title. And then Hawthorne was, they scored 80 last night against Fort Meade. Fort Meade, they're really down this year. But it's Wildwood and Hawthorne in 1A District 8, and that game will be played at Wildwood. So district championship games coming up on Friday, and then the first round, the boys basketball playoffs starts next week. So it's a fun time of year.
And before you know it, you'll be calling baseball games in a couple of weeks, right? Baseball and softball.
Yeah, well, I've always waited until after basketball season was completely over before I broadcast my first game. Number one, I do it because there's just so much going on, and I try to focus on basketball. But number two, sometimes you're going to go to a place that doesn't have a press box, like Gainesville softball, for example. We set up right behind home plate. I'm not ready to sit out in 40 and 50 degree weather and broadcast a baseball or softball game, honestly. So, I wait till about that second week of March after basketball season is completely over. And I'll be out of town that first week of March. I'll be in Niceville for the junior college men's and women's basketball state tournament. So once all that stuff is done, I'll be able to start focusing on the spring sports.
Good stuff as always, Mike. Let everybody know how they can check out your calls on the radio and read all your good stuff at Main Street.
I appreciate it, Shane. On Friday night, we'll have radio coverage of a district championship game. Like I said, we're kind of leaning towards that Santa Fe North Marion game. Santa Fe was in the state championship game last year. They got a new coach this year, and here they are playing for a district championship. It's a 6:30 pregame. We'll have a 30-minute pregame show. It's a 7 o'clock tip on Friday. No matter where we go, we've got some good games to select from. 106.9 FM IM Country. I mentioned the all-area teams. You can find those at mainstreetdailynews.com. Also, we've been updating district scores. I just got to catch up on last night's boys district stuff, but you can find scores of the girls district tournaments and the boys district tournaments from Duval County all the way down to Lake County. We have those at the PrepZone.com.
Mike, great stuff as always, buddy. Have a good call this week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for the time, Shane. Have a great day.
Yeah, that's Mike Ridaught, who does a phenomenal job covering high school sports in the North Central Florida area. Going to take our final time out, come back, get to some of your questions and comments, and wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. At South State Bank, we understand that small businesses need a community business partner they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Want to thank Brent Beaird and Mike Ridaught for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Don't forget, Lady Gators, can they stay hot and keep winning at Mississippi State tonight? I don't know if that game's on TV or not. I'm not sure. Tomorrow's program, we'll have JC. We'll do our Peachland Dentistry Super Bowl picks. And I'm also going to have Frank Frangie, the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, give us his thoughts on the Super Bowl, but also on the new coach, Doug Peterson. Andy says, I know this is a Gators show, but you should slide in your famous Hail Mary against the Browns among your show closing highlight clips. I think it has something. Yeah, that's good. Good call. Good call, Andy. I don't know. I'll let all my smart technical people do all that. I don't know how to. I don't do anything with this show but talk. I have great people that run it, but that's a great call. Great call. We'll have. I'll talk to my people. John says we definitely need some new clips. We'll get that done. We appreciate your feedback. No question about it. Before we get out of here, Comfort Temp is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's hiring team members with all levels of experience. $1,000 signing bonus. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports. In 2019, on this day, the head ball coach in the Alliance of American Football kickoff, and the Apollos beat the Atlanta Legends 40-6 down in Orlando. That happened on this day. Brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Hope y'all have a great day. Today's show's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Trying to get the fans fired up. 2nd down and 10. Matthews rolling to his right, in trouble. Can't find anyone. Now he throws it for Harrison Houston, who makes the catch. He's in the open field. Harrison to the 20. They're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Gators!